So I'm delighted this afternoon to be with Fredrik Sandvall. Fredrik, so look, we discussed last week about working remotely and working with teams. So it's possibly even more important right now because people get used to this lockdown. It's about
Exactly.
creating discipline. It's about creating habits. So just a little bit about yourself before we go into the main content of this video stroke podcast.
Sure. It's funny this working remotely. I remember really early 2000 I was working with a project with the military, how to manage military operations remotely with encrypted links and so on. But this is quite different. Today, technology has moved on. Everyone can work remotely who wish to today. So yeah, from working with the military, consulting, I now got a couple of different businesses, finance and property mainly, but I still have got a consulting business on the side as well. That's a little bit about myself.
So in terms of working remotely or working remotely with teams, and there's a difference, and it's interesting what I see online now about people budding up with other people, doing a Zoom call, doing a 45-minute session, not an interview as such, literally saying, this is our goal, let's achieve it by the end of 45 minutes.
Yep.
And in fact, there's a company who does that, not Zoom, who's using different software. Maybe it works better than Zoom, maybe not. But your words of wisdom, Fredrik.
Right. So the best plan for this to work at all is just look upon right now in this house where I am. We've got four things going on at the same time. My wife, she's working remotely. One son, he is teaming up, playing a game with some friends after school, and the other son, he is doing schoolwork as well, also on a video conference. And I'm here with you. So that's just four examples of people doing their stuff completely virtually. So
And it's quite fascinating because Sweden right now is one of the few countries which isn't completely on lockdown.
yeah, exactly. No, I mean, today I've been to the grocery shop. It was just like business as usual. People just try to keep slightly more distance to each other, but nothing else. So very different to London I left just the other week.
And is that the same in Norway as well, or just
No,
Sweden?
no, Norway is more on lockdown mode, and so is Denmark, Germany, France. So, for example, I could not make my way to Sweden by car at all. So I took one of the last flights with Ryanair before they closed their lines to Sweden.
Mm. And in fact, I got a message this afternoon from National Express saying that all their services were going to be suspended from this Sunday as
Really?
well until further notice. So, I can't even catch the coach to the airport now if I
Yeah.
wanted to.
Yeah, but I saw some news at least which indicates that it's now allowed to do developments again, and as long as you take precautions on the development side, such as.
Yeah, so construction is still taking place. Some
Yeah,
people, in fact, where I live directly opposite us, there's construction work going on still.
yeah. Right.
So,
So back to the actual question you asked, like things to think about. So I like to take one thing that Ivan, my older son, is doing. He's got a very strict schedule from school. It's perfect because it's very hard to get any kind of routine. It's really easy to get out of sync. So instead of the traditional to-do list, if you schedule your activities instead, and that can be as simple as Brian Tracy's "Eat That Frog." Like we all know what we really should do and what really will move our business or work forward, and that's usually what we put last on any to-do list. So if we do one of those bad things in the morning, then we're off to a strong start. So that's around scheduling. Other things, of course, if you got a team to set, that really helps a lot, as well as to have check-in team meetings, maybe a place where you can just take things off while they've been done. There's so many ways how you can share documents online today, everything from Slack to even like Google, Microsoft. So all the traditional platforms offer this kind of technical tools so we can keep the team reporting easier than it was just a few years ago.
so in terms of people using schedules, what would you advise them to? I know you talk about eat the frog and putting your main
Yep.
priorities first and so forth. How do you think people should be structuring their day, or maybe not how they should be, but how do you structure your day as efficiently as possible? What are the key things you put in into that schedule, which are sort of like and you would not move them out?
Yeah, I mean the best thing you can do really is block times which is like your core work, whatever that might be. The other part is like block time where you, just like us right now, have time for catch up or whatever it might be. So you schedule calling time where you're doing outbound calls, and we try to schedule your activities also when people try to set up meetings with you. So you have that slotted up. And also think about when your energy is higher or lower throughout the day, so you can do the most important task while you're still fresh in your brain. I know many people that we both jointly know who do the core activities in the morning, and then later in the day, arguably not the right thing to do, take the calls when the brain is softer and not as efficient. But that is people working more with yeah, okay, I won't mention names. Yeah, I paused there.
But that's interesting. Inbound and outbound, and you might even schedule a different time for your inbound calls to your
Yes.
outbound calls. Okay, that's.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if you're in a pure position, which most entrepreneurs today are, where they need to bring home the meat, the money, that means that the most important time when you're freshest of the day might be in the morning. You need to do those activities which is linked to generating revenue, while other things might be later in the day, as one example. So when I was working in a pure sales consulting space, we had almost like a written rule that you have to make at least 10 outbound calls before 10 o'clock in the morning, which meant that if I just did that, I knew I would hit all my sales targets, which was quite significant at the moment in terms of bringing home business, which was not my only task.
So 10 outbound calls.
Yeah, yeah. Most people will not do one.
So look, so scheduling your calls.
Yep.
What else should you be scheduling? I know you say things which bring in money, but what else would you be
Well,
doing?
we just spoke about team. So, like to have that check-up team meeting. So, to set the direction and inspiration in the morning, just as the teachers are doing now with the remote distance learning, like they might have just like 5 minutes in the first part of the session where they say, "Hi, here's the focus, here's your task. Good luck, carry on. I will be available on this meet." And that's very, very applicable also for you as a business owner working with your team remotely. And many people listening to this might be in the position where they don't have their own team, but they might have contractors, specialists, and other people doing stuff, maybe virtual people. And the same goes for them as well.
Okay. What one final question? Nothing about working remotely as such.
Yep.
But it's more about the investment side. So when is the right time for people to invest? Is it right now or is it a later time? And maybe that's a tricky question to
Yeah,
answer because for different people it's different times. But
absolutely.
and of course Sweden's different to the UK because I think you've hardly been hit whatsoever.
Yeah, no, we've had I mean, our stock market is very linked to the British as well as in the American, more the American even. So we had similar patterns occurring here. Similar things are absolutely affecting us with logistics and so on. So yeah, uh, yeah, we
Are
have
you
been
still
affected.
are you still in the investment mode? You're looking for opportunities yourself?
So yeah, just because of the phase of the business. So if you think about like the winter time, if you think about the seasons, the winter time a lot more like linked to planning, details. Spring is more linked to like sales, business development, and then summers that's like when it's full on activities, and then towards autumn start to slow down again. I'm still very much in a mode personally of tidying up, sorting things off the winter hit list, getting things in order. And now with Corona here, that also has got a big impact. We need to have all the businesses ready for being Corona sustainable. So it means that we need to build cash buffers if they're there or not. We need to think about how can we manage tenants, how can make sure that places are safe, secure, and yeah, the list goes on with things that needs now to be altered compared to before. So do I invest? Do I not invest? If I had money, I would be very happy to invest today, but also I see this will get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, so that's what people are saying. They're saying, why would you invest right now when it may go a lot worse?
Yeah,
And what would
it
your
completely
response
depends what you
be?
go into. So right now, for example, most stocks and shares they just plummet. And I got one product right now which is very much linked to what most people really like to get from investments, which is monthly cash flow. So the investor for that specific thing means that they will have money coming in every single month instead of having like a big lump sum interest in further in the future, or maybe something else. So yeah, so I'm adjusting my products I'm offering to others so that it will be useful in the corona times.
So how can people find out more about you, reach you? I know you're an author, you've got a book out.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain? Maybe that's the best way to connect with you.
Yeah, sure. So the easiest way is just to find me online, Fredrik Sandvall, and there you can find LinkedIn. You can find the book Trust is the New Currency on Amazon. The company website I use most is fundx.global, and you ask about investment. What you really invest into today is yourself. When you can't get to your office, the very least, read a good book, listen to a podcast like Brendan's, for example, or maybe even mine. Invest in You is the name. So yeah, many ways to find out more and take the chance to find new routines in your life.
So Fredrik, Invest in You is the podcast. So
True.
you've had some really big names on it, like Grant Cardone's probably one of the biggest names.
Yeah.
Although from my understanding, he's still facing challenges right now himself.
Yeah.
I think he's had to redistribute staff, let staff go.
Exactly.
Um, so anyone else who's a noted name on your podcast, or anyone who's coming up on your podcast?
I think a cool name is Mark Devine. He is a Navy SEAL commander. He's got some quite unusual things to share. But we're very close to episode number 100, where we'll have like the best of the first 100 episodes. So yeah.
So
He's
Mark Devine
Mark
is
Devine.
one of your podcasts. Did you
Yeah,
remember the
exactly.
episode or?
I can't remember. It was in the last 2 months.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
Um, so I would definitely get around to listening to that at some point fairly soon.
Good one.
And your podcast, I think, is on Stitcher. Is that correct? And other
Yeah,
channels?
it's on all the normal podcast platforms.
Okay. So 100 episode is coming up fairly soon. And
Yeah.
is there anyone you're planning to bring in around 100 or post 100?
We have a queue of fantastic people lining up. So yeah, no, I can't remember on top of my head.
Okay, Fredrik, I just want to say a massive thanks for reaching out, taking time out from overseas. One of my international guests. It's great to
Yeah,
get an international perspective as well.
my pleasure.
So I know European, but even so, international. And look, to my listeners out there, I'm open to interviewing people from both the UK, US. I'm already in talks with someone who's raised £500 million, I think it is, in the next, well, maybe a few weeks, few months, but we've connected, so that's a possibility. They've got their own podcast as well, and I'm open to suggestions. So if there's a suggestion, a topic,
Yeah,
Fredrik, I just want to say massive thanks for taking time out today. I know we were a little bit behind schedule, a couple of technical glitches, but thank you.
my pleasure. Thanks, Brendan. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.